Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The show is about to begin.
Truth, lies, shenanigans. Truth, lies, shenanigans. Lies, shenanigans. Truth, 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 lies, shenanigans. It's the TLS show, coming to you live from the TLS show. It's the TLS show, coming to you live from the TLS show.
Hey everyone, welcome to Truth, Lies, Shenanigans, the live streaming podcast where your favorite host brings the most interesting topics of the week to discuss, and we'll ask the question, is this truth, lies, or shenanigans? And of course, we always try to have fun with some shenanigans of our own along the way, with amazing guests, games, and spirited discussion. My name is Neo Nix, and we have a guest spotlight, special guest on author, fashion designer, playwright, film, video, and theater producer, Jeffrey Madoff. Then later in the show, we'll be talking about two teens being charged for the murder of an 8-year-old in Pennsylvania who was killed by police. In Quickfire, we're talking about the Rittenhouse trial, lockdowns for the unvaccinated, and a new baby boom. As always, we'll end the show with Shenanigans the Game Show, and we're playing 7-Second Challenge. Don't forget, you can stick around for our post-show discussions and our after show, which streams live exclusively on TLSfans.com Facebook group. You'll never know what we'll talk about. But before we get into our show, let me introduce you to the fantastic host for the next hour, our beautiful model, actress, college student out of Atlanta, Georgia, Miss Gianni Storm.
Hey guys, happy Sunday, fun day. I don't know, it's been cool in Atlanta. It's been cool, literally, it's been freezing. And I feel like it's just, I'm not used to this. You guys know I'm from Providence. I come from the cold. So I came down south to escape that, and it's following me everywhere.
The cold.
So,
Oh, you
times
need
that
to
I
go to
go
like
south
Miami
for
or
cold.
California somewhere, LA.
Yeah, something, somewhere. But yeah, it's been good. It's been good over here.
All right. And sitting in today for Lizzie, who's not feeling too well, we have our other college student and aspiring comedian, guitarist, and software engineer out of College Park, Maryland, Miss Ellen Dahl.
Hello. You guys are seeing me in the 2 hours of the day where I'm not going insane studying, so glad you're seeing this side of me, because as soon as the show ends, it's gonna be gone. So let me give you all of the energy that I have, because it's quite limited. Happy to be here.
We'll take it. We'll take it. Thank you,
Ellen.
All right. And our gamer, tech guru, and bona fide rock star with the rock band Fallen Machine, coming to you from Sudbury, Ontario, the birthday boy, Mr. Robbie Rock. Hey, Robbie, how's it going?
It's going well. I want to give a quick shout out to the Canadian speed skaters who earned 7 long track medals this weekend at the season opening International Skating Union World Cup in Poland. And if you're a fan of bad movies, if you enjoy B-type movies, just horrible production all the way around,
Who is?
I checked it. Oh my God, I went straight to Tubi. The movie Swim with Joey Lawrence. Oh my God, yeah. It is, so the premise is it's a family that's trapped in a beach house by floodwaters during a storm, and the house gets invaded by a shark. So if you want to learn exactly what not to do in case you're ever caught in a shark home invasion scenario, you got to watch this. I think it's based off of Crawl, the not so bad movie with Big Gator. That one was kind of fun. Or maybe loosely off the American Dad episode where exactly this happens.
Okay.
Oh, I love American.
Okay, I guess I'll watch it.
It is awful.
I
You
like
have to
bad
see
movies
it.
then.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Well, we just want to make sure we say happy birthday, Robbie.
Happy
Another
birthday,
year on this
Rob.
earth.
Thank you. Thank
How,
you.
how was your birthday?
Yeah.
It was wonderful. It was very low key. Right now, my city, unfortunately, is a COVID hotspot for the province. So my kids were kind enough to get a hold of me on my birthday, and so was my
Aw.
granddaughter. And we actually went to my mom's house for some store-bought pizza and cake, just to avoid our points of contact.
Nice,
But it was
Aw.
nice.
nice. Yeah,
Glad you
Good.
enjoyed it.
got
All
a lot
right,
of
let's
love
jump into
online.
quick
Thank you
fire.
to everybody.
What's that?
Aw.
I
What
said
I
got a
miss?
lot of love online, so I just wanted to say a quick thank you to everybody.
Oh,
Mm.
of course, of course. All right, let's jump into quick fire. This season, our hosts share a topic, but we only have 3 minutes to discuss and 1 minute for audience comments. So type those comments fast. Also, I've added a mute button for any one of our hosts who decides to keep talking after time is up. Let's do it.
Mhm.
All right, Rob B, the first quick fire is yours. What you got?
All right. Well, you heard me say it before. If you want to know what's coming your way, pay attention to what's happening in the rest of the world. Austria, like many parts of the world, is struggling with how to persuade vaccine resistant citizens to get their COVID 19 shots so that the rest of the country can return to daily life. So the sex industry heeded the call, and a brothel named Fun Palace has opted to inject some passion into its clientele by providing free access to the premises to anyone willing to get the jab on site. So that's a €40 saving just for getting your jab. But this is just a setup for something more serious. Austria right now is implementing a lockdown for unvaccinated people in two of their hardest hit regions starting tomorrow. And they actually are meeting today to give approval for implementing those measures across the entire country. So starting Monday, unvaccinated people in the regions of Austria and Salzburg will only be allowed to leave home for specific necessary reasons like medical and procuring food.
Hmm.
So, given how crazy things are in our neck of the woods, should this type of lockdown become the norm for hotspots?
Let's start with Ellen Dahl.
Um, so here's the thing. Ideally, that would be better for public health. But I know the country that I live in, and if that were to be implemented, it would be absolute chaos in the streets, which would lead to a mass spreader event. So it's like if you try to keep people at home, these are people who are not being
The
vaccinated. They're not
opposite.
gonna be like,
Counterintuitive, yeah.
you're not gonna be like, damn it, they got us again. We gotta stay inside. It's like, no, they're gonna come to flood the streets with their opinions, and I'd rather keep peace.
All right, Gianni, what do you think?
I think it's a good idea to try to target like herd immunity. But I think that, like Ellen said, it's a little unrealistic for certain parts of the world. Austria, but I think they're doing a good example. They're
Yeah.
being a good leader.
And now I like the idea, but honestly, at least in the US, I'm getting to the point where we understand COVID's not going away. We should continue to educate people, but it's been 2 years at this point. Everyone knows how to protect themselves, vaccines and masks. And, other people of the world now have the same treatments that Trumps of the world had. So, main people, they risk whatever risks are to themselves. So at this point, you know, I'm fine. We just protect our own selves at this point. I think we're good. What are you thinking, Robbie?
I think that's a little cavalier because at the end of
Fair
the
enough.
day, you are helping fund healthcare in your country. And if people who are vaccine resistant aren't falling in line, are suffering from the full symptoms and crippling healthcare, then that's a problem for you also. Everything else gets put on the back burner.
All right. All right. I hear you. I don't know that I agree with you, but I definitely hear you. All right. Um, let's see. Mike Winters online says hootie hoo. All right. He also says it's not to themselves. There are too many immunocompromised people who are still vulnerable. So I'm feeling that. I'm feeling that. There's that possibility, but at the same time, I still feel like we can kind of take it a little
And I
easier than
think
we
that
used to.
Austria is only doing it for 3 weeks. Like, what is that really going to help? Like, I guess
Well,
if
it
you
could
were
help
doing
a
it
lot.
for the rest of the year, or if you were doing it until you tested everybody who was unvaccinated and their test
All right.
came back negative, like, I
Yep.
could see that. Okay.
All right, we can talk about this later. Is this truth, lies, or shenanigans?
It is.
Jalen said, "Shoot."
She's like,
I'm
I
going
forgot
with
something.
truth, of course.
It's true.
Yeah.
Shoot.
Everybody, I mean, it's obviously truth, but
Yeah.
It's obvious.
I
We
still
all
think
want it.
I
It's
still
like,
think we're at a
at what
point where we
cost?
can start to protect ourselves a little. I think
Yeah.
it's getting similar to the flu now. It's getting similar. It's getting there. It's not there yet, but it's the more people that get
I need a button
vaccines.
to shush you. I need a button
You
to
need to
shush you.
We should all have a button.
All right. I do need to be shushed. All right. All right, let's get to our next one. This is from Gianni. Gianni, what's up?
Okay, so according to a note published this week by the Bank of America, pregnancy test sales are on the rise, which means a possible baby boom might soon be on the way. Since June 2020, pregnancy sales have risen 13% compared to 2% between the years 2016 and 2019. The impending boom might change current trends for first-time millennial parents whose previous studies showed were waiting later in life to have kids. Experts predict that we could see more babies as soon as this year or even next year. So my question to the panel is, what are some of the thoughts as to what could have caused this potential baby boom?
Huh. What could have caused it? Let's go with Robbie.
Well, I think the main cause is unprotected sex, but there's no real surprise. That's whether people are in a loving relationship and choosing to have a child at this time because of that deepening bond throughout the pandemic and lockdowns, working from home, or if it's an unhealthy couple who's constantly fighting or fucking, well, they're just doing that. If it's risky sex for a thrill to feel alive during pandemic lockdowns, I get it. People are bored. People are going to do what feels good. But please, the pharmacy is an essential service. Buy your contraceptives before you buy your pregnancy tests. Please.
Ellen?
I think that this is. I'm not surprised, first of all, because what else are you gonna do? You either like during quarantine, you're either having sex or making sourdough bread. So it's like so,
One or the other.
Yeah, so make your choice. But this just reminds me of moments where, like, if there's a power outage or something like that, a lot of times a bunch of babies will come out 9 months after that. But we've had like a health power outage for a year and a half now. So I'm sure, little COVID babies with like COVYN or D, like with cutesy names, they're going to be all over the place. For sure.
Yeah, I'm feeling you. I feel like it's definitely because of the pandemic. I mean, it's pretty obvious. It was to be expected. I think they anticipated as soon as they said that we were going to be locked down. I mean, it was.
But is that expected? Because it's like when you think of pandemic, you're thinking, okay, the world's gonna end. Let's have sex and have a baby. Like we're broke.
No, let's
like,
just
The
have
thing was the
sex.
lockdown.
Let's just have sex.
Having a baby is a secondary consequence of sex. They're thinking, I'm bored. I want to have sex.
They're not thinking
Want to have
about,
sex?
okay,
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're not horny and you're like, you know what I
Fair.
want? Pregnancy. Like, that's not how it goes.
If I'm not going to wear a mask on my face, I'm not going to wear a mask on my junk. Here comes a baby.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and the whole world was locked down, so it should be a whole world boom.
Yeah.
So
Have a millennial boom
All right.
on the way.
So comments
Boom.
online, Lizzie, she's awake. By the way, Lizzie got her booster shot yesterday, so that's why she's not feeling too well.
Feel
She says
better.
it's easier to get
Aw.
clear blue easy. Funny.
True.
Than condoms, I guess. All right.
World.
All right. So, is this truth, lies, or shenanigans?
More true.
I think there was a lot of
I feel like
shenanigans
it's
going on.
truth.
Create the baby.
I feel like it's
That's
truth and
what the
shenanigans.
shenanigans
Create
are.
the baby boom.
Shenanigans occurred.
There were some shenanigans.
I mean, yeah, how else you gonna create the baby boom without a little bit of shenanigans?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's get into our third and final quick fire. This is Ellen.
Yes. So you guys may have heard of the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. It's been going on for the last 2 weeks or so. He's an 18-year-old who shot 3 people, killing 2 at a protest last year in Kenosha, Wisconsin, at a protest for the police killing of Jacob Blake. So he claimed that he drove to the city to act as a medic and protect businesses during riots, bringing with him medical supplies and an AR-15. Footage has resurfaced during the trial, or surfaced during the trial of Kyle Rittenhouse being chased by the people who he shot, raising the question of whether or not it was self-defense. He's facing 6 different charges, including reckless homicide, intentional homicide, and owning or possession of a dangerous weapon under 18. It's been a really divisive case. And my question for you is, do you think that he acted in self-defense?
Johnny.
Jesus. I think no. I don't think he acted in self-defense. I think that it was planned. I
You
don't
think the
know.
murders were
gonna be.
planned?
I think that his intent was planned.
Okay.
Like I think that it was intended. I'm gonna be honest with you and say that I don't know too deeply and about the case. I've of course heard it, but I haven't studied it, I haven't researched it. But just from what I have seen in the articles, I believe that him explaining right now he's being genuine. But I do believe that there was he's lying in
Some
some
intent to it.
cases. Yeah,
Okay,
there's some
Robbie.
definitely.
He armed himself. He traveled across state lines to put himself in a situation where he didn't belong. He ended up shooting 3 people. You don't get to do that and claim self-defense. And he's discussing people on the right who are trying to make him into some kind of hero are sick in the head. I mean, there's just something fundamentally wrong about everything that happened, and including his mother, who drove him to a trouble spot like that because he wanted to act like a medic. Well, there was a gun waiting for him. It's all kinds of wrong. That it's clear that there was intent to be involved, and it may have escalated beyond what he expected, but the intent was there.
Yeah, I think he started out with intent, but I'm going to be honest. I look at the, I look at the video, and I don't know that I wouldn't have done the same thing. Now, I
Oh,
should have never put myself in that situation, but in that moment, I don't know that I wouldn't have done the same thing. Now, I think what should be on trial here is more the privilege that we're talking about, and
Done
um,
the same thing about what?
because he should be
Like then
responsible. Um, so, is it self-defense? Sure, but he's responsible for something. He may not be responsible for murder, but he's certainly responsible for something. Okay, I need to shush
Mhm.
myself. Ellen, I'll give you 20 seconds.
yeah, I think like what you're saying when you watch the videos, you may think to yourself, if I don't know, you would think that perhaps it would be self-defense, but like Rob was saying, he went out of his way to go here, and he brought a gun. He went with the intention. He brought an AR-15. He went with the intention of protecting businesses who did not ask to be protected. He went, but nobody summoned him there, and he went with an AR-15, and he walked through a crowd, and he expected like. You don't go into a crowd and have to just defend your life against 3 people unless you're doing something wrong.
All right, we can talk more about this in the after show. We'll definitely talk about this a little bit more because I have some more stuff to bring up about it. So,
Mhm.
after show, TLSfans.com. Go ahead and sign up now so that you can hear the rest of the conversation. Let's get to these comments online. Jacqueline Robinson, there would have been no need for self-defense had he kept his little cosplaying ass at home. He's not a medic. There was nothing genuine about that fake hyperventilating, which resulted in all but 1 tear. Jose says, I blame Ricky Schroeder. Liz says his mama just said he would do it again. Mike Winter says mom did not drive him there. He went with his friends. And then Jackson Robinson adds, where were the tears when he and Ma Barker were hanging with the Proud Boy?
Yep.
That's right.
So we call them truth, lies, or shenanigans on this.
I don't know what's going on. I think
It's lies and
is-
shenanigans.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I need to have a sign that just says "fuck this guy."
This
I like
Second
fuck this
Amendment
guy.
bullshit. The Second
Yeah.
Amendment.
I like
bullshit.
Rob. Look at the face.
Yeah, that's really
I like
good.
the sign that says "fuck this guy."
Yeah. I'll make that for next time.
Face of anguish.
That's next on the list.
Mhm.
All right, yeah, because I have a few questions. Like, I'm going to ask you guys in the after show. You know, do we want to take into account that he was a minor when he committed these? So, after show, we're going to ask that question. All right.
I'm excited.
All right. Great quick fire discussions. Great job. And today's sponsor for Quick Fire was Just Super Tonics, immune support, digestive health, energy hydration, detoxification, and more. Amazing health benefits await you and your family. Shop Just Super Tonics. That's a tongue twister. JustSuperTonics.com today. All right. All right. It is time for our guest spotlight. I think you guys are going to enjoy this guy.
Yay.
Our spotlight is on B. Jeffrey Madoff. Hey, Jeffrey, welcome to the show. Welcome.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
All right, thanks so much for joining
Thank you
us.
for having me on.
Happy to have you on. All right, B. Jeffrey Madoff, aka Jeff, is an author, professor, fashion designer, playwright, film and video and theater producer. I have a ton of questions about your amazing career. And if our audience were to Google you, B. Jeffrey Madoff, they'd find out a ton about you. But I want to start things off by asking you if you can tell us something that we can't Google about you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I can. Something that you cannot Google about me is when I made one of the very early trips to the moon and actually walked on the moon and followed some of the same footsteps as Buzz Aldrin.
I'm pretty sure we probably can't Google that about you.
Yeah, that is true.
That's right. That's true.
That's hilarious.
Well, thank
All
you
right.
for having me on. It's been great talking to you guys. Thank you so much.
All right, so you began your career as a fashion designer, even being selected as one of the top 10 designers in the US. So what drew you to fashion design and how did your career take such a drastic turn?
Well, first of all, prior to that, I didn't have a career. So it's not that it took a drastic turn, unless you consider going from one job to another a drastic turn, which it wasn't. And, you know, I want to be also clear because I think context is really important.
Mhm.
When you say that I was one of the top 10 young designers in the United States and got an award for that, that is true. But I think there were only 8 of us. So it wasn't hard to be in the top 10.
You were number 9.
And I was number 9. Thank you for doing your research. That's something you can Google about me as a matter of fact. After the moonwalk. I was working in this fashion boutique in Madison, Wisconsin, where I went to college, University of Wisconsin. And a dear friend of mine who I grew up with, who had graduated a year before me from college, said, look, I saved up some money. Can you think of a gig that would earn more than bank interest? So I said, well, I see what we sell in the store. I could always draw. So I'll start a clothing company. And he said, okay, great. And he sent me a check. And at that time, it was more money than I ever had at one time. And although memory is a little bit hazy, it was somewhere between $1,500 and $2,500. which seemed like a lot, but was really a little.
Oh.
Started with that amount.
I don't know. That would have seemed like a lot for me at that age.
Well, I'll tell you something. I'm thinking, what if I was in the bathroom when I got that call? Now, of course, there weren't cell phones then, so I wouldn't have gotten the call in the bathroom. But if I had, I would have thought, oh, maybe, we could go into the paper towel or toilet paper business. So I'm glad that I was in the store where I was working, because at least I thought about a viable thing as opposed to, yeah, because I had a double major in college of philosophy and psychology. And those certainly prepare you for staying unemployed for quite a long time. So the fact that I had an offer to start a business, and my parents were entrepreneurial, so I grew up in a household where my mom and dad, they started and owned their own business. I have a sister; she owns her own business. So getting a job was never something that I looked forward to. And I'm an entrepreneur because I'm basically unemployable. So it happened that I was in the store when my friend called, and it all kind of made sense. It also made sense because I didn't think about it too much. I just did it.
All right, Ellen.
Oh.
You have a question, Ellen?
Yeah. So since you're mentioning talking about how unlikely or difficult it is or how difficult it is for someone who graduates with a degree in psychology and philosophy for them to make it on their own, and you stumbled upon this opportunity. So what would you say to other people who are recently graduated with degrees like that, where their jobs prospects are similar and they're also kind of holding out on some sort of lucky event? What advice would you give to those people?
Nice.
I would give them advice to not take advice, because you have to discover for yourself, what direction you want to go. And, I said that jokingly, it's not like you can go through and say, oh, a philosophy degree and a psychology degree, what does that set me up for? There are actually things, from anything from teaching to becoming a therapist to going to a think tank. There's all kinds of different things that you can do, none of which I ever thought about doing, but there are. And so, I think that often meaning like almost all the time, there's no single path to take. And I don't believe in prescriptive fixes for life's questions, so you can read these books that seem to have, the 7 highly effective,
I read that.
7 highly effective secrets for highly effective people, or, all that kind of thing. And I don't think that life is prescriptive, because that brings up what I call the myth of replication, which means, oh, so that person was able to do that. And if I can replicate their behaviors and circumstances, which, by the way, you cannot, under any circumstances, you cannot. So there's best practices for business, be prepared, be ready, stay curious, work hard, show up on time, be present, and all of those kinds of things. But beyond those best practices, you start discovering this stuff for yourself. And there isn't a prescription for that. So I don't have any, great wisdom to impart.
All right, RB.
Interesting.
Best advice is no advice.
As I was preparing,
I thought that was great wisdom, by the way. God damn it, that was great wisdom I just gave you.
It felt great to me. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Oh my God,
I got some information from that.
Yeah, me too. I gotta think about that.
Thank you.
Now, as I was preparing for this, I heard you recount a story from your youth, and I want to throw a quote at you, and I'm hoping that you would be willing to share the story with our audience. I was hired to be a shoe salesman, not a zookeeper.
Yes. That was, by the way, the first and last time I had ever said that, until I was on that podcast you heard. And it's in my book. A book came out about my class, the class that I teach at Parsons School of Design in New York. What had happened was a new shopping center had opened in Akron, Ohio, which is where I'm from. And I essentially talked my way into a job. they were looking for someone who was at least 23, had at least 2 years of shoe selling experience, was married, and at those times you could make all these conditions. And I was 16, had no shoe selling experience, was not married, and I was able to talk my way into the job. And I had a great manager. He was a terrific person. And the store was a family shoe store, and it had a monkey in the back of the store. And by the way, something else that would not fly these days is you would not have a live animal cage in the back of the store.
Yeah.
So the thought was, while mom's trying on the shoes, kids go back and look at the monkey. And so monkeys, like us humans, defecate quite a bit. So unlike us humans, they don't sit on the toilet and flush it. So what you have to do is clean the cage. So the assistant manager said to me, clean out the monkey cage. And I said to him, do you clean out the monkey cage? He said, I told you to clean out the monkey cage. I said, I heard you, but I said, do you clean out the monkey cage? What do you mean? I said, look, I'm willing to take my turn if everybody does it. But if you're telling me to do it because I'm the youngest person here, I was hired to be a shoe salesman, not a zookeeper.
Mm-hmm. I love it.
And that manager overheard this conversation. And he stepped in and said to the assistant manager, Jimmy, why don't you show Jeff how to clean the cage out? And from now on, each of us will take turns doing this. So it was a funny phrase, but it actually gave me a really good management lesson. And when I got older and was managing lots of people, it's about listening and letting people know that they've been heard and making decisions that are fair.
I love that.
So that's part of the monkey story.
So you own a production company. So I'm curious, can you tell us more about that production company, how it got started, what brought you there?
No. Next question. Yeah, of course, yes. I had my design company and made the decision to move to New York, my fashion design company. And when moving to New York was like a big deal. From Wisconsin, I had been to New York for business trips and was gradually seduced by the city because I'm a stimulus junkie. And New York is such an exciting city. It's just such a great place. And when I moved, my financial backer told me that he would not continue to back me if I moved to New York. And he made that clear from the very beginning of the business because I employed Wisconsinites. I had 2 factories and I was like 23 or so and employed about 120 people, all who banked at his banks. And he was a very good man. So he wasn't doing anything that he hadn't told me as a condition of the investment when he initially invested in the company. So I had come to New York and I was working on I ended up working on a film project and discovered that I really liked film. And I really liked the opportunity to tell stories, which is something that I had always done. And I had the opportunity to apply both my fashion knowledge and my love of filmmaking and became one of the first people that was videotaping fashion shows and filming fashion shows. That just hadn't been that wasn't a thing before. So one of my small slivers of historical significance is being one of the first people to be doing that. And that transitioned me into the film business. And I started my own company as a result of doing that. So we did commercials, documentaries, branded content, all kinds of different things. And I felt like what I liked about it is that I was only limited by my own imagination, and that it's the kind of thing that you only get better at the more you do it. So I really enjoyed doing that. And there's whole lots to unpack, which we don't have time for here in terms of how I even bridged into the film business and doing that.
Right.
But it's a decision that I decided to make to totally switch careers and to do that, which I'm very happy that I did because that led to other things.
So there's a comment online. It says, Paulette says, wow, good for you for standing up for your rights in a very mature way. All right, Gianni, what's your question?
My question is, do you have anything, anything that you worked on within your production company that you're really passionate about that you'd want to share, or anything coming out, even if it's not within the production company and it's in fashion or something completely out of those professional fields?
Well, I've been really fortunate because I've had great clients, traveled the world, shot in Russia, shot in Czechoslovakia, shot in Italy, shot in France, shot in London, worked for people such as Ralph Lauren, clients for Victoria's Secret and Harvard School of Public Health, and an array of clients and really cool stuff. So,
Yeah.
people ask me like, what was your favorite job? And it was always the one that I was doing. Because I think you have to be really present to do any work good. Now, there are certain jobs that really stood out to me that were really cool to do. But I'm fortunate that I had a high degree of work that was cool to do. It was fun. But I wanted to also do something else. And that something else was it came from my work is that I was hired to do a documentary about Lloyd Price. And Lloyd Price, you should Google him. You guys, if you don't know his name, you know his music. And Lloyd, who was born in Kenner, Louisiana, he was black, and he recorded one of the cornerstone songs in rock and roll, and the first song by a teenager that sold over 1 million copies, called Lottie Miss Claudie.
Lottie Miss Claudie.
And that was covered by the Beatles, by Elvis, by Little Richard. And as a matter of fact, Lloyd got Little Richard his first recording contract. And
Wow.
and this is just cool to say. I was on a conference call with Lloyd Price and Little Richard. So I just think that's neat.
That is neat.
That's so cool.
To be able to say that. And so Lloyd's story is astounding. And I felt like this would give me another opportunity to expand my creative horizons and to write a play about Lloyd's life. The natural thing would have been to write a movie, but there's something about live performances I really love. Because, before we went on air here, we were talking about music and so on. And live performances, the performer is at risk the entire time they're in front of the audience.
Mm-hmm.
And particularly, like if anybody's ever seen a comedian bomb, it live, painful experience, and the brilliant ones know how to recover. And the ones that get angry and attack the audience eventually lose their career.
Yeah.
Plays, you can't do a retake like you can in a movie, so I love there's an underpinning of tension and risk that I really like.
Okay.
And I did the documentary about Lloyd, and as a result of doing that, Lloyd and I became friends. And I said to him, I know I can capture your voice. I want to tell your story. Because he not only broke down the wall that was called race music, it used to be, and this was back in 1952, if you wanted to buy a record by a black artist, you had to go to a black-owned record store.
Mm-hmm.
And black music was called race music.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just code. So what would happen is that the songs would be put into R&B, which was also code for black, and pop music charts was all dominated by white artists because that's where the money was. But Lottie Miss Claudie sold so well, and nobody is prejudiced against green. They were all happy to be making the money off that.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
as a result, that broke down the wall that was called Race Records.
Wow.
And
wow.
Lloyd also was the first artist of any color to start his own label. So he was an he was an entrepreneur. And he was also the first black to open up a nightclub below Harlem. Actually, across the street from the Ed Sullivan Theater, which is then where the David Letterman show is, and now where the Colbert show is.
Wow.
Oh,
So,
wow.
so Lloyd's life was amazing.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
an amazing life.
literally.
And by the way, later on, and this is not in my play, but later on, he also produced the Thrilla in Manila and the Rumble in the Jungle with his best friend, Muhammad Ali, and one of his best friends, and another one of his good friends who he brought into boxing, Don King. So Lloyd's life was amazing.
Yeah, his
Really an
life.
amazing life.
Wow.
It's like Forrest
So
Gump.
that's the thing that I'm probably the most excited about now. Last week, we finished our first week of castings. The show opens at
Whoa.
People's Light Theater in Malvern, Pennsylvania. On March, it was previews start March 2nd. The official opening is the 7th of March of 22,
Okay.
and we'll go through
Nice.
the 27th.
Yeah.
So that's really exciting, and it's
Me and Ellen have to do a
collaborating
road
with some-
trip.
Yes.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do a road
Yes.
trip, Jeff,
Road trip.
in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. I looked
Yeah,
it
I
up. Yeah,
hope
it's not too
so.
far. It wouldn't take us long to get there, Alan. We could do it.
All right. Pack up the car.
Yeah, and it's really exciting because I'm telling a story that I think is really important because it's about race, it's about the youth movement, it's about the birth of the civil rights movement, and all of these things that came together during Lloyd's lifetime. And
Yeah.
Lloyd just died in May 5th of 21,
Wow.
which was really sad to me because I wanted so much for him to be there next to me at the opening.
Wow.
And he had an extraordinary life. And so I'm aside from just wanting to put out a great piece of work and collaborating with phenomenally talented people to bring this all to life, and his legacy should live on.
Absolutely.
You know, it puts that added thing on there is now more than ever, it's more important for people to appreciate the doors that Lloyd opened that people just aren't aware of. You know, and his life was amazing. So
Yeah.
that's something, Johnny, that's a long way of answering your question, but that's what I'm most excited about now is that and the possibilities of that.
Wow. I can't wait.
Thank you for sharing that. That's something that would be very exciting to look forward to. And for somebody like me, I didn't know about Lloyd. So
I hadn't
thank
heard
you
of him
for shedding
either
light.
prior to this conversation. So
Yeah,
that's what I
Google
really want to
him.
know.
You will see. I'll give you a quick, really bad rendition, but you might know this song. Cause you've got walk a personality, talk a personality, smell
Oh, yeah.
a person. That's
Yeah.
Lloyd.
Wait,
That's
that was a
Lloyd
great
Price.
rendition. We just need a little
That
music
was
to that.
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Grab my guitar.
and,
Break the guitar out,
and,
Ellen.
Yeah.
and Rob, we can do this with 2 guitars.
That's
And,
right.
Yeah, I'll play acoustic and Rob will shred.
I like it.
Yeah.
All right, unfortunately, we're running out of time. So I wanted to give you a few minutes to just say anything that you want to say, close out. Any shout outs, anybody you want to call out? And I think you're going to stick around for our after show. But anything you want to say?
Sure. Can I do a naked plug here? I
How
don't
you
mean I'm
doing?
going to take off my
Absolutely.
clothes.
Please plug away.
I'm going to keep my clothes on, which I think is better for your audience.
Please
But
plug away.
Thank you.
so this book, let's see, there we. Oh, you've got me reversed. I don't know what
Other way.
direction I'm going into.
Go whatever one you're not.
Yeah.
Do whatever you're.
And I'm on a time delay. So the hell with that. But the book is called Creative Careers: Making a Living with Your Ideas, and it's based on the class that I teach of the same name at Parsons School of Design. This fall, I started my 14th year teaching it, and every week I bring in amazing guests, and we talk about the journey from where they were to where they are, and I might have a Nobel Prize winning scientist. I might have a had Michael Arad, who designed the 9/11 memorial, Roy Wood, who's the senior black correspondent for The Daily Show,
Wow.
Wow.
and
Yeah. Right.
Pulitzer Prize winning journalists, and
Wood's
all
funny.
kinds of people. It's he's great. He's great, and really good insights into comedy too. Really a terrific person.
Yeah.
So I love doing that because I think what's most important is to stay curious and to keep learning and to keep exposing yourself to new ideas. And there's nobody worse to be around than somebody who thinks they know it all. And I think that if you stay present and you stay in a constant state of wandering around and wondering and curiosity, that it just makes the world a richer place. And and it also gives you more dots in your brain to connect, so you can come up with new ideas and new things the more influences you have. And so teaching is a fantastic way to learn. And every semester I have a whole new group of students, and I really love it. Really love doing it. And the book is reflective of the class, and it approaches, how to get unstuck, how to overcome fear and doubt, and how to ask yourself the right questions as you're moving into your career or changing careers. And I'm proud of the book. And it makes the perfect gift for anyone you've ever met in your life or ever will meet. And,
The holiday season.
and I thank you very much. Yes, Johnny, thank you. And so Christmas is coming up, and Hanukkah, which is 8 days you can buy gifts for people. So
And I see
Thanks for that
Jose put the
outcome,
link
yes.
in the Facebook chat. So go ahead and click that link
good.
and order that. And also we'll make sure we get that in our description for the podcast. So
And by the way, Neo, it will blow your mind when you see the play because you look like Lloyd's gangster mentor, Logan, the actor who
Suge
plays
Knight,
him.
wait, no.
I'm not, and I'm telling you, it's really interesting. I don't know, I haven't seen you with that. Wait, take off your hat a second.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, so same. Oh my
He
God.
does look like
So,
him.
so now
So
I know I'm a
look
celebrity
up-
now.
Yeah,
He did
Google,
a study.
Became an actor.
Google Stanley Mathis.
Stanley Mathis. Stanley
I gotta-
Yes. Mathis.
So funny.
He's do you see him?
I do. Yeah.
So I don't know if in what you find online has the mustache and
know.
beard, but Stanley does, and it's uncanny, the resemblance.
Okay.
And
Facial hair
and
is uncanny.
you found a picture of him with the facial hair? I mean,
Yeah.
it's wild. And Stanley's an interesting character. He's a gangster who ends up managing Lloyd because there's a mutual respect with each other, and he's an amazing guy.
I see.
But you're gonna
found a picture. I could see it. He might be a little darker, but
It's-
yeah, I get
Yeah,
it.
like right here.
Yeah, I found a good picture. You're right. I could see it.
It's pretty wild, but
Yeah.
he's a really cool character. And by the way, the like what you guys are experiencing here with the four of you and the way you play off of each other, doing a play when you're working with talented people and you have that collaboration,
Mhm.
it's really special when it's all clicking and firing.
It really is.
And
True.
and I'm so fortunate because my director Sheldon Epps, who is amazing, and we have attracted just a wonderfully talented group of people, and I think that's going to translate into a fantastic show. So
I'm looking at these comments online. Jose says new career Neo Nix, and Neo as a, Mike Winter says Neo as a gangster. George Fournier says very fascinating man. Talking about you, of course, Jeff. Paulette Bertrand says thank you for sharing all of that knowledge. Mike Winter says I am down for the play. Sounds fascinating. All right, Mike Winter, we're gonna have to do a road trip. Call you up. Let's do that road
Oh
trip.
my
Gotta
God.
rent a van.
Stop by in Atlanta.
Olivia says, I salute a person that no matter the profession uses it for good. I salute you. Jacqueline Rob says, I remember the movie Hairspray mentioning race music. So I hadn't heard about that either. And there's a couple other questions. We just don't have time anymore, though.
So I can give you a quick thing about the race music, which you guys might find interesting. You want
Go ahead.
A quick tidbit here?
Fire away.
So, Tutti Frutti, which was Little Richard's first big hit. And if you ever saw it, it's funny, the actor who was playing Little Richard said to me, and the director, so how over the top should I go with this performance? And I said, we're talking about Little Richard, a black man who in the 1950s had a processed pompadour, wore pancake makeup and mascara, played piano standing up, shouted in falsetto. You can't go over because he defined that, and so it was really interesting because Pat Boone's version. You guys know who Pat Boone is?
I do.
Pat Boone is kind of the musical equivalence of mayonnaise on white bread, and his version of Tutti Frutti outsold Little Richard's. And the reason is because Pat Boone, and they would have white artists cover the black songs. So Pat Boone covered Tutti Frutti, and that got into the pop charts, and Little Richard was put into the R&B bins. And there's so many examples of this, but it's a really fascinating story, and it's a part of our popular history that people just don't know. That's really fascinating.
Yeah. All right. Well, Jeff, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate the time. We appreciate you. If you're sticking around, we'll wait for you in the after show, and we'll see you there and talk some more.
Right. Great. I'd be happy to stick around. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right. Jeff was a great storyteller. Boy, he has
stories.
lots
Yes.
of story.
I told you it was going to be a good spot.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
Wow.
All right.
Very interesting.
But now we're really short on time, so let's get into our topic. We'll keep this one short.
Truth, lies, shenanigans.
All right, so this week we had two teens, 16-year-old Angelo Ford, 18-year-old Haseen Strand, I believe is his name. They were charged with first-degree murder and aggravated assault in the death of Fanta Bility, an 8-year-old girl who was killed by police gunfire August 27th outside a high school football game in Sharon Hill, Pennsylvania. The teens got into an argument at the game and exchanged multiple gunshots with each other. The gunfire then led to responsive gunfire by police officers near the entrance of the football stadium that wounded 3 bystanders and tragically killed Fanta with a single gunshot to the torso. The young girl's family has filed a lawsuit that accuses the Sharon Hill Police Department of excessive force and of specific intent to kill, saying they acted unreasonably by firing on the car while innocent bystanders who were also injured stood directly behind it. But the DA's office said the teens should both be held criminally liable for the murder of Fanta as well as for wounding the bystanders. All right, so my question to you guys is, who should be held responsible here? In addition to first-degree murder, the suspects were charged with 5 counts of attempted murder, 5 counts of reckless endangering another person, as well as gun-related charges. So, who is responsible? Let's start with Gianni.
I feel like I'm gonna go with what the victims' families mentioned. They said that real justice would be holding accountable the reckless shooting of the police officers and not the reckless shooting of the teenagers. I think that the teenagers that were shooting should definitely be charged with their part, but I don't think that they should be charged with
the murder of the young girl.
Killing. Yeah, because they weren't the one that killed her, obviously. I actually don't even know how this is still happening. Like, how are we still not holding the police accountable? But I think because there was so many factors within it, within that scenario, they can easily pin it on the two teenagers who rightfully they should be receiving some kind of consequence. Of course, they're shooting in the middle of a school. I think was it a school district or was it a football game?
It's a football game. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, they should rightfully be charged, definitely. But
All right. So you think the police should be charged?
yeah.
All right. So Robbie, do you agree with Gianni? Should the police be charged as well?
This I went and actually found the original story rather than the reaction. I wanted to find out what happened at the football game, and to watch the news snippets from the actual event is crazy. So these young people need to be held to account. I'm on board with the legal reasoning of the DA because they were attempting to kill one another that night, and as a direct result, a little girl is dead. The day after the shooting, Fanta's uncle Abu Bility said that she got caught in somebody's terrible act and she became the victim. I 100% believe that is the case. So, like, a jury needs to be persuaded that in order to prove first-degree murder, there has to be homicidal intent, as opposed to merely frightening or even wounding one another. This is ridiculous. What is the intent of brandishing a gun? It's the implied intent is that I can and will kill you. You don't flash a piece to make friends or to bring about a dialogue to de-escalate a situation. One kid flashed a piece, the other one went and got his piece, and they started shooting at one another. Went at a high school football game with hundreds of people. So I hate to say that Fanta was just a casualty in a terrible situation, but unfortunately, she is just a casualty. And Johnny, how is this still happening? I don't know, because to the rest of the world, this is just more static noise gun violence in America. Kids with easy access to weapons killing kids or creating lethal scenarios. I'm so fed up with it.
So you believe that regardless of the fact that the teens neither killed her intentionally or unintentionally, it doesn't matter. They're responsible.
They created a scenario where lethal force was a reasonable response because they opened fire with hundreds of innocent bystanders. The fact that they didn't hit anybody is staggering. The police response, when I saw the football field, there had to be 20 cars around the football field. If you have a civilian high school sporting event and there's a live fire situation, how do you respond, Neo? You put them down.
So Ellen, do you agree with Rob's stance? Do you believe the police hold no responsibility?
I don't think that the police hold no responsibility. I think that the people who got into the shootout are certainly responsible. I think that in this case, if the police are not to be held responsible, I think that we're kind of babying them and saying like, oh, well, they were doing what they were doing their best, and they were doing their best to protect everyone. But I don't know. I also, the legal implications, I don't know much about law, but it seems really like convoluted to charge the girls with homicide for killing the girl if they didn't shoot the bullets. Like, just from a very logistical standpoint, I think it would be, I don't know how that would be argued, but
it doesn't make sense.
I think
they didn't
everyone
actually
here is at
shoot
fault
her.
for sure.
So I was reading the prosecutors relying on a Pennsylvania legal code that holds the person responsible for a crime they intended to commit, but which had a different victim. It requires persuading a jury that the only difference between what they intended and what happened was that a different person was killed. So even though they neither shot Bility, either on purpose or by accident, they're supposedly responsible. But again, that absolves the police of any responsibility. So it sounds like, Ellen, you're saying the police are responsible or they're not?
I think everyone's responsible. I don't think it's either or. I think the people who are involved, I think the people who are shooting were absolutely responsible, and it's absolutely their fault that a little girl died, because she would not have been shot if they were not doing what they were doing.
Shooting
Now,
that
would she not have
man.
been
yeah.
shot also if the police were not just randomly shooting? I mean,
Yeah, why were they
because
shooting into
I mean, we're talking about shooting in an open area with bystanders visibly. I mean,
Yeah.
lots of them. I mean,
Yeah,
wouldn't police be trained not to do that? Robbie, I see you going to say something.
I think so.
But what you're saying is anecdotal, Neil. Unless you've actually seen any body cam footage, you don't know. You're going by reports that the police were
It's all
just
alleged.
shooting wantonly. It's all alleged. So I've never been in a live fire situation. I can't imagine what it'd be like, especially when there's hundreds of civilians that are dropping for their life, that are scattering. When you see the footage and you see the entire both football teams laying on the field, their lives are at risk because two teenage idiots decided that they were going to settle this with guns. They put everybody at risk, Neil.
I'm still wondering if the police should still have done a better job of not shooting in a public arena. I know
I
that
totally think
they are trained not to do that. So, Gianni, you're going to say
Even if
one
you're
last thing. You
trained,
got.
it's just
I'll give you
like
20 seconds.
we have seen over the past couple of years how officers are not properly trained. So it's not even about the training. It's just kind of like logic. Like if you don't but what Rob is saying is true when it comes to actually seeing the footage. I haven't seen the footage, but if you are shooting inside of cars or you are shooting inside where there's random civilians, it doesn't make sense to shoot there when the action is happening over here. So I don't know. And then just to come in guns blazing, what are we doing? Why are we not using our heads? But okay.
All right, let's get to these comments online. There's a few. Jose says, "Whatever happened to good old fist fights?"
Thank you.
Let's kick each other.
Scary. They don't know how to fight. That's why.
Yeah, from what I was reading, apparently one of them flashed the gun, then the other one ran to their car to go get the gun, and then came back, and then they started shooting each other. Anyway, Liz says, active shooters, how else are police supposed to respond to an active shooter? You try to put them down. Jose, why bring guns to a football game? Why? Mike Winter says, felony murder is not a difficult concept. Olivia says, yes, almost all states say when you are committing a felony and someone dies, you are charged with murder, no matter who pulled the trigger or if it was intended. And then Liz says, guns blazing at active shooters. All right, so we're out of time, so we're going to move quickly. It was a good hot topic. Thank you for participating, guys.
Truth, lies, shenanigans.
All right, let's get to our game show. All right, for today's game, it's brought to you by Intuit Online Boutique. Get into it, ladies. It's time to slay in the latest fashion trends on the Intuit Online Boutique. Go support small businesses this holiday season. www.intuit.com. All right, today's game is 7-second challenge, but I had to get a different version because we had to pay to remove the ads because we got tired of them popping up.
Look at it.
All right, so let's see how this one goes. Rule is you must successfully do the challenge within 7 seconds to get a point, judged by me, of course. First with the most points wins the final thought for the show. So, Ellen, are you ready?
Yes.
All right, Ellen, you're up first. Name 3 characters from Dragon Ball Z.
I don't know. I never liked that show.
I hate Dragon Ball Z.
Rob. I don't know any of them.
All right, so that's a no.
Me either.
Goki, Gohan, Vegeta, Master
Robbie,
Roshi.
you have 7 seconds to do 3 squats.
Oh, that's better than doing 10 squats. Come on.
He did squats before. What are you trying to tell him?
You get lucky.
Oh, my thighs. I think I put out a knee. Oh.
Good
What's
job.
that going to be intellectual?
Got an easy one. Yes, correct. All right, Robbie gets a point.
I hope mine isn't.
All right, Gianni Storm, say something funny silently to Robbie. Just say something funny to Robbie.
Impossible. Something funny.
That
Where
I'm gonna
else
give it
goes?
to you. I'm giving that one to you.
I was like, I can't think of it so specific.
I'm giving that one to you. That was good. All right. Ellen Dahl, name 3 characters from the Lord of the Rings.
My God, what's up with
Why?
these? Okay, Frodo,
Mhm.
Gollum,
Okay.
Good.
um,
Good.
Oh,
know.
you
Don't
ran out of
say it.
time. You ran out of
I don't know
time.
any of them.
All right, Helen, no
I don't
points for
know
you.
either.
All right. Okay, Robbie, make a Slavic crouch.
First? Oh.
What the
I
fuck?
think it's like when
fuck
you
does that mean?
cross your legs and then crouch down. I'm gonna guess.
Like a somersault. Like you're about
So
to
you
do
know
a
you like.
somersault.
Oh, we
We
can't
can't see it.
see.
I don't know. I did something off camera.
I'm gonna give it to you.
Oh
'cause I
my
couldn't
God.
see.
Ouch.
Something like it.
I did it on the
Who made
ground.
this game?
I'm gonna give it to you. All right, I can see. All right, Gianni,
Yeah.
stay in contention with Rob B. Go to the next room and what? Oh gosh, let's skip this. Go to the next room to check if you are not there.
Okay. So in a different dimension, this game would work.
Go to the next room and check to see if
But
you're
if
not
you
there.
just crouch below camera, nope, not there.
If we all
That's a
suspend
weird one.
object
That's a
permanence,
stupid
I
question.
don't. Yeah, that's.
Where's
what
the thing?
drugs were
My
involved in the
mind.
development of this app?
All right, Ellen. Well, you are technically out
All
of
of
it
them.
now, so because you can't win. Sorry.
Yeah.
So this is between Rob B and Gianni. Are you ready?
I just.
Rob B and Gianni.
Yes.
All right, Ellen. Oh, this is not Ellen. So Rob B, dance to the song that will be played. What is this?
By the
Okay,
players.
I don't know
Played
what
by
that
the
is.
players.
What is
I feel like
You
there's
guys-
somebody in the background
So
just
you need to.
typing
You
words.
guys need to make music for me to dance to. You need to make music.
I don't know. It's such a
This is
dumb.
That was good.
All right, we may not use this one in the future. This is
How much did you pay for this?
$2.99. $2.99.
That's way too much money.
All right. All right. This is Robbie. All right. Tell everyone what about your worst date. You have
That was
30
funny.
seconds. Worst
Yay.
date.
My worst date. Well, one of the worst dates was absolutely. I was working 10-hour days, and I went to the movies, and I fell asleep, and I was snoring out loud. It was Robin Hood after a big dinner. I was snoring.
Sounds like a bad date.
Why would you even go on the date?
Because
All right.
I hadn't seen my girlfriend at the time for quite a while. I was working 7 days a week, 10 hours a day out of town. So it was to
Aw.
make it up for, I'd take her out on a nice date, and it just tanked. I fell asleep in the theater.
All right, Gianni.
Well,
Find out what one of the people's color of socks is on the show.
go to a stranger meet and find out what color. Ellen, what color
No.
socks do you have?
Too late. No, I'm just
Um,
kidding. Go
They're
ahead.
white, but they're dirty, so they're several colors.
White-ish.
Dirty white.
Yeah,
All right, we're gonna see.
They're an off-white.
dirty white.
All right, this is the last one. This is the last one.
Sure.
So, all right. So, the way we're going to do this is whoever does it first, laugh by imitating the laughter of another player. Go ahead. And best.
How does Neo laugh?
But Liz.
Oh my God.
I got Liz.
Got Liz.
She's not on the call, so I can do her.
That's
Yeah, you could've just
hard.
laughed.
Just watching.
You guys.
She's not far.
All right. Robbie wins the game. All right.
Neo's
We
I like
gotta
how it gives points to me. That's nice.
You're welcome.
go. Liz, that's how you. Apparently, that's how you laugh, Liz. So.
Liz, that's Rob's
All right.
impression of
Sorry,
you.
it's more. If I check the comments, it's more low.
Low. All right. All right. Let's get some shout outs. Gianni?
Shout out to my little sister. I wanted to go to Goldsboro, North Carolina to see her this weekend, but unfortunately I couldn't. So I love you, and I'll see you hopefully.
All right, Ellen?
Shout out to my aunt who isn't watching because it's her freaking birthday tomorrow. So happy birthday, Aunt Sarah.
All right. And Rob B, shout outs.
Just a shout
like
out,
that.
seriously, a big shout out back to everybody that took the time to reach out to me on my birthday or the next day to wish me a happy belated. Was much appreciated. And I didn't enjoy turning 49, but all of you helped brighten that up.
All right, and my shout out goes to
Aw,
Lizzie
young man.
again, who's not feeling too well. So Lizzie, hope you get better soon. And our final shout out goes to our pet shenanigans.
Oh my god.
2 weeks in a row, Flora Leal and her cat seem pretty popular with all of you. She posted a video of her cats fighting on the cat tower with the caption "Gladiators, Cat
That
Edition."
is so cute.
All right, to see
I've
these
never seen
photos and
cats
all of your
fight.
pets, go to TLS Pet Shenanigans, TLS Shenanigans Facebook group, mypetshenanigans.com. Photo with the most likes and
Didn't know they were
comments
so
gets a
aggressive.
shout out each and every week. And Pet Shenanigans is brought to you by Big Drip Collars and Accessories, providing top-notch styles for dog collars, bandanas, and leashes. Visit the link in the description, www.etsy.com/shop/Big Drip Collars. And that is officially all of the time we have for today's show. We hope you maybe learned something, gained a new perspective, even got some things off your chest. We will be live streaming next Sunday, November 21st, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. But we will be taking off for Thanksgiving on Thanksgiving weekend. Don't forget the audio version of the
Yummy.
podcast is available every Monday evening, 6 p.m. And the party is not over. We've got 15 minutes of a so we're actually not going to switch. We're just going to stay here with you guys. So it won't be on TLS Fans. You get something special. You get to see our after show. And it looks
Yay!
like our winner for the final thought of the day is Mr. Robbie Rod.
Rob wins every week.
So my final thought is I'm going to retweet Seth MacFarlane. Just a couple of days ago, he posted this tweet, and I think it's brilliant. The Aaron Rodgers debacle, coupled with recent comments from celebrities ill-informed about vaccination, is a reminder to quit treating athletes, actors, and influencers as role models. Pick a scientist, a doctor, or a teacher instead. You'll wind up smarter.
Oh, good one. Good one. I like that. All right.
Mhm.
Thank you, Ellen, Gianni, Robbie Rock. People behind the scenes, always working hard. Thank you, Jeffrey. Jeffrey for joining us. Jeffrey Madoff for joining us. Lizzie, hope you feel better. Also, thank you to Nesmi, Jose, and Olivia. But most importantly, I want to thank you for watching and listening to our shenanigans each and every week. We hope to see you next time.
Section.
We're only going to be on for maybe about 10, 15 minutes. We won't be on long.
Okay.
Yeah, we just because we try to get off by 5:30. We are streaming back live. So welcome back to our after show. Yeah, this is yeah, usually we have about a half an hour, but our show went a little longer than usual. So because
It
your
happens when
stories
we
were
have
amazing.
interesting
I didn't
guests.
want to stop. I didn't want to stop. I was listening to you, and it was like I didn't want it to stop. So
I know.
I kept
Yeah,
going.
exactly. We had to let it. We had to
So-
hear out your stories.
Jeffrey, I'm very curious. Professionally, you have traveled internationally, and I'm just wondering if through your professional travels, you have found a place that is personally special to you.
Yes.
Wonderful.
I like that. I like that answer.
Thank you very much.
Elaborate.
Yeah, I'm New York City. I love New York City.
New
I'm
York.
always happy to be returning here, no matter where I go. And I've been other places where I've certainly enjoyed myself. But as Dorothy said, there's no place like home. And New York is my home.
Wow.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Now
Are
I
you
did
from
want
New York? Or are you from Ohio? I'm sorry.
I'm from Ohio. but
Okay.
I've lived in New York way, way longer. That's a weird threshold in life when you get old enough to have lived somewhere else
wow.
longer than the place you grew up and left when you were 18,
Yeah.
which is
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
one of those early milestones.
Mm-hmm.
I did want to get everybody's thoughts, including you, Jeff, on the Rittenhouse verdict. Well, not verdict, sorry. The Rittenhouse situation trial. Um, so the question I had was, do we think that age should play a matter? I mean, should play a role in terms of like, because he was 17 when he committed the crime. Do we think that
Yeah, but
age matters in this
he had
case?
a big boy gun.
But I mean, he's still an immature individual, right? Because I mean, when you see him crying on the screen, sobbing like a baby. I mean, it
Sure.
reminds you that he still was a child. When I was 17, I was dumb. I was still an idiot.
Were you that
Yeah.
dumb?
I
Were
was
you
pretty.
that
I wasn't
reckless?
that dumb. Yes, you're right. I
Were
wasn't
you
that
evil
dumb.
though? That's
I
a
wasn't
little
that dumb.
different.
You weren't
I
that.
was-
You probably
I
weren't even
wasn't
close
that.
to being that dumb.
Yeah. What do you
I
think,
think I was.
Jeffrey?
Oh,
I think that he had an incredibly misguided sense of his mission, and that, as Rob had said, the mere fact that he traveled across state lines, was illegally armed, somehow viewed himself as a vigilante, which is what he was acting as,
Mhm.
and he's not qualified as a medic. That would be like if I broke into your house, Johnny, and you got out a gun, and me as the burglar shot you, and I said, well, self-defense, she was going to shoot me.
Ah,
Why did I place myself in that kind of
that's
a
a good way to think
situation?
about that. Actually, that's a great
So
analogy.
So the fact that he traveled across state lines, put himself in harm's way, where he had absolutely zero justification for being there. That's the difficult. That's the difficult thing. I think that the prosecution, from what I can tell, and I have to qualify that because I'm only going by what I've read in the paper or the news reports. I don't have any firsthand knowledge of this, nor did I sit in and listen to the unedited hearings of this.
Sure.
But the fact that he did what he did, there is no justification for it. So I think I think that he was delusional, and I think that he had a very misguided sense of mission, of what his mission was and what his place is in the world. So yes, he's immature, and there are people that are older than him that are, that are immature also.
Mhm.
But I don't think, one of the things that I think is a bigger question is that it seems as if the notion of consequences for actions has almost gone away in these last few years. And there needs to be consequences for actions if we expect people to respect our social conventions and our laws.
That's true.
Mhm.
Yeah, I am worried that he'll get off actually, because I mean, it's
he will.
looking like the prosecution is not winning this case. You were going to say something, Ellen, about
Yeah, I don't think he'll win it either because the prosecuting attorney is blowing the case. The judge absolutely despises this guy at this point. He blew up at him. Yeah, I think he's gonna get off.
I mean,
I mean,
but
he's
do
gonna
you,
be charged for having like a weapon underage, but I think he's gonna be acquitted.
so we're all in agreement that age doesn't matter here, right?
17 on the cusp of
Uh,
18, Neo. I'm sorry, you're making big boy decisions at that point in time.
Totally.
A lot of us at that point are making those first steps along our life path.
But I mean,
Unfortunately,
you can be
this is a
influenced
huge
to
misstep.
do wrong. I mean, you can be influenced. I mean, especially when you've
But
got a
influence
president,
doesn't-
when you've got a president of the United States, egging people on to do these things. I mean, he's
But
still a
being
child,
influenced
and
doesn't
right?
mean you're not culpable. Because you've been influenced
Oh
doesn't
no,
mean you're
yeah,
not culpable.
Right. Because there are also other people who have been exposed to the things that he's been exposed to and managed to not go put themselves into trouble and kill 3 people.
true.
Like there are plenty of people who are influenced by Trump and his followers, and he was like throwing up white power signs and he hung out with the Proud Boys. It's like plenty of
Yeah.
people who are vulnerable in other situations, in these situations, figure out ways to not go somewhere they shouldn't be with an AR-15.
Well, we have a comment from Daria Winter online right now. He needs to be locked up. Those who filled prisons with people of darker hues for lesser charges and younger ages make this ludicrous.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point in terms of equity, because I'm certain if and this is where I believe one of the things that should be on trial is privilege here. I mean, because like look at this,
Mhm.
there was a if you recall after um he shot these people. This is after he shot this. This is an image of him after he shot the people walking right next to some. Oh no, when was this? This was
That's one of his friends. That's not a
that's one of
cop.
his friends. That's right. That's sorry. This is
Uh-huh.
one of his friends. But immediately afterwards, he walks right past the police with his
He surrendered to
AR-15.
them. Uh-huh.
Well, no, if you remember, right after right after he shot the
Mhm.
guy, he had his AR-15 and he points down the street and he says, and he just walks right past the police. The police don't do anything. He had to, like you said, he had to surrender himself because the
Mhm.
police did not arrest him, even though he's walking with an AR-15.
I mean,
I mean, whereas of course, they go down and they assume that it was um, the black crowd that was causing some type of problem. But I think we should be looking more at the privilege here. Even when you look at him on the stand, what is he going to get away with?
I mean, I don't doubt that he felt he was on a mission that he was righteously justified in doing, which is a problem
Totally.
in and of itself.
That is a problem.
But again, that doesn't remove one from culpability
Mhm.
because he thought he was on this mission that he was going to protect people or businesses. There's a lot of delusional people out there. And that doesn't, there is, of course, an insanity plea that could be taken. But the point is that he should not escape legal blame. And the prosecution, from what I can tell, couldn't be doing much of a worse job than they are doing. And I would question whether or not the judge is even unbiased because he seems to be unhinged in his responses to this case.
I was wondering.
So if I were the prosecution, I'd go for a mistrial based on what happens because there seems to be prejudice that's going on there also.
Yeah. So what do you think? What do you think is going to happen if he does get off? What do you think the results are, Yanni? What do you think will happen?
I unfortunately think that it's going to probably cause some violence in the streets.
Yeah, there's going to be some stuff going on down the street for you and me. And
University of Maryland. Yeah. What do you think, Gianni?
DC keeps the pulse of that kind of stuff.
In
like if there's
DC.
anyone protesting anywhere, they're gonna be on Pennsylvania Avenue first.
Yeah.
Oh, I just feel that if something doesn't cause another not a civil war, but like a war in this country, then that will. I think because it's like something that people really have been following this entire time. It's one of those cases I think that was no, it wasn't part of the Black Lives Matter, but it was something that I feel like has been followed by the Black community in a long time, for a long time, because they just, like you said, it's his privilege that's been oozing out throughout this entire process. So,
I mean, he needs to be if he's not convicted of murder, he's going to have to be convicted of something, or
absolutely, I think he will,
or there will be riots. I agree with you guys.
I don't think he's going to be completely cleared, but I personally think that he will be acquitted on the homicide charges.
I think he may be too. George Fournier says he wanted to feel big and important and perhaps famous. Mission accomplished.
And just so you know, George is a lawyer. He's actually my lawyer.
Yeah.
But what I found the most amusing thing that I found, that the only amusing thing out of this was after he took the stand, was that Merriam-Webster updated their word of the day to crocodile tears. Because the tear, oh yeah, I mean, you have to watch the video to see him cry on the stand, because the tears on the stand were definitely not tears of remorse. It was a tear fabricated out of the fear of possible consequences. Is he scared for what might happen to him if he is charged or if he is acquitted? Hell yeah, who wouldn't be? Because if he gets off, you've got a bullseye painted on you for the rest of your life. You're going to get a random shit kicking, and you're going to know what it's for.
In his testimony, he said he did nothing wrong. So he
Yeah,
definitely is
he
not
says
remorseful.
right. I
Yeah.
think
No.
I will say, I think that I don't think that was for show. If you want, like, if you watch it, he's beginning to stumble over his words. Like, he clearly, to me, is having a panic attack. You don't need to cry to have a panic attack. He was like beginning to hyperventilate. I would have had a panic attack if I were in his if I were him. I think it was real. That shouldn't obscure any. That shouldn't um that shouldn't change anything. But I don't think that was fake.
I
don't
think
either.
I kind
I
of
don't
agree
think
with
it was
Robbie
fake.
on the crocodile tears because I think he was thinking more of the consequences of his action as opposed to the actual remorsefulness of his actions, where he felt bad about his
Totally.
action.
But
I
the
think he's
panic
just
attack was real, but
oh
it
yeah,
wasn't about remorse. It was about, like you guys are
Totally.
yeah.
scared. Yeah.
I think he was
Right.
I think he was scared keeping his story straight because he was talking about something like the actual moment that he shot someone when he was doing that, and I think he just like lost it. I don't think he was like, "Oh my god, I killed this person," but he was like, "Oh shit."
Yeah, but you
I'm
don't
like,
never
"Oh fuck."
you never saw him
I'm
crying when
here.
he was flashing his white pride signs and hanging out with the Pride Boys and Ricky Schroeder.
That's true.
Ricky Schroeder.
There's no fear at that
Yeah,
point.
for
All right,
sure, for sure.
I'm gonna switch gears real quick before we close it out.
That's
So
very
Jeffrey,
weird.
you are hilarious,
Hmm.
and I mean, I'm just curious. So Ellen,
That's a hell of a switch of gears, by the way.
right?
Yeah, it is.
All right. So you were hilarious, but Ellen is looking because we don't have a lot of time. But Ellen is trying to be a comedian. Do you have any advice for
Yeah, be funny.
her?
Okay. I'll try. I kind of I'm with that.
Ellen is
It's like,
funny.
She is funny.
thanks.
Ellen is funny. Yeah.
Have you
I
done
laugh a
stand up
lot,
yet?
man.
Have you done stand up
No,
yet,
but
Ellen?
I've been writing jokes for like 2 or 3 years now. So I need
So,
to
Really?
so we need to
go
get you
do
on a
it.
stand up.
Need to do it.
The thing that's interesting about comedy and stand up, and I know a number of stand up comedians, and the thing about stand up is you get immediate feedback about your product, which is a joke.
Yeah. Yeah.
You get it immediate. People laugh or they don't.
Yep.
So the
Mhm.
only way you know if they're going to laugh is you have to get up in front of an audience and test your material
Totally.
and be ready for maybe some unpleasant experiences. But
Yep.
that's part of the gauntlet you have to run when you become a stand-up comic.
Right.
So, so I think that the only way you can do it isn't writing jokes at home, which is a start
Right.
because you have to develop
For sure.
material, but you have to
Yeah.
get it in front of people. And that could be, and by the way, you can also become a comedy writer and not do the actual performing
Right.
yourself. It depends on what you
Right.
want to do.
Mhm.
That's what I was.
But that, and I don't know your career goals, but I
Mhm.
think that's really you've got to decide what it is you want to do, and sometimes it might just take getting in front of an audience to see if you in fact like what that faces you with, because it can be pretty
Right.
brutal.
Right.
But you might be a good comedy writer and not a performer, or you may find you love performing, and that's the way you
Mhm.
test material.
Mhm.
All right, and my final question for you, and this is going to be, is you're a film producer, you're a video producer. So, what advice do you have for us to improve our show?
Mhm.
I'm looking for some suggestions of how we can improve and get better.
Yeah. As an internet.
And be
I
honest.
would,
Phenomenal.
Feel free to be honest. I like honest.
well, I
Yeah.
would say that you guys have a great rapport and that you don't necessarily agree with each other, which I think is a plus.
Okay.
And I think moving the show along quickly is a good thing to do. And so I think it's just a question of, always refining, and then what kind of feedback do you get and how does that work for you? So I don't have any prescriptive notes to give you of great wisdom,
Mhm.
but
Uh,
I've had fun doing this, and it
Awesome.
was fun spending a couple of hours with you guys. So I've certainly enjoyed it.
All right. We've
And
had
you'll
fun
find
with
it
you.
ultimately from your audience. That's how you
Mhm.
find out when you're doing a live show.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Well, we've got to shut it down. I know Robbie's got to go get his dinner. So thank you so much, Jeffrey, for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank
It was
you guys.
definitely a lot
so
of
much,
fun.
Jeffrey. Wonderful.
Yeah, appreciate it.
And when your show opens up, we're gonna have to get you back, and we're
Great.
gonna have to find a way. And Ellen and I are gonna be there.
Yes.
Terrific.
Why? I want to go.
All
I want to
right,
go to DC.
all right, Gianni,
and
you're
then
gonna have to
we'll go.
drive up to here, up to DC, and we'll all go
Easy.
together.
Yeah, we're not making
I'm
another
gonna,
stop. We're
I'm
not-
gonna stay in Canada, eh?
Well, are you even able to cross the border yet?
Yeah. I know that they have opened up the border for driving, so it's just I'm not eager to get there yet. Though. Sorry.
Okay, you should go to Florida. That should be your first visit.
Oh fuck.
That should not be his intro to like
last.
coming to America for the first time in a while.
Exactly.
Florida,
Exactly.
Imagine.
Maine, or something peaceful and serene.
Everything
Yeah.
bad happens in Florida.
One of my coworkers, she visits Florida regularly because she owns a place in Florida. She's gotten COVID twice.
Oh my god.
There you go.
She literally caught it
I
twice.
thought you were immune the first time you get it.
No,
Nope.
that's not how it
Oh, that's
works.
Aaron Rodgers type thinking. Come on.
Yeah.
No.
She caught it twice. All right, guys. Thank you again so much. You all have a good night,
you.
and I will see you soon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye,
All
guys.
right.
Goodbye.
Truth,
Yeah.
lies, shenanigans.
See you later, Ellen. Rob.
See ya.
Oh, Johnny's gone.